And it's only when you're running, say, a government UFO program that you begin to see, wait a minute, we've got a witness over here, and that corroborates the witness over there. And these people don't know each other. For all they know, they're alone, but they're not.
I'm here to discuss the so-called flying saucers.
In 1947, an unidentified flying object allegedly crashed in Roswell, New Mexico, kicking off a mass wave of sightings where hundreds of thousands of people reported seeing flying discs in the sky. Today we examine some of the best evidence we have concerning these flying saucers. Welcome to the Basement Office. So to help us understand the flying saucer, I'm joined by Nick Pope, who worked for 21 years at the UK's Ministry of Defence. And you worked in the UFO office. You worked for the government, repping the military, and you were investigating UFOs officially.
Yes, and not only is my name in the now declassified parts of the British government's UFO files, but I wrote a lot of them, so yeah, I'm out there, I guess.
Do we find any saucers in the Ministry of Defense files?
We do, absolutely. It's a shape that comes up again and again and again over the years, UK, US, all around the world.
What is the genesis of the flying saucer?
Well, the phrase itself comes from Kenneth Arnold's sighting on June 24th, 1947. Now, Kenneth Arnold was a light aircraft pilot, and he saw 9 objects performing at what the time was extraordinary speeds that he'd never seen or heard of before.
I actually have a picture of what Kenneth Arnold describes. This is the delta-shaped, looks like a boomerang almost. This is what he said. There were 9 of these, right?
Yes, flying almost in formation.
Right. His description of the movement was something like this. They weren't flying in a straight line. They were kind of going like this.
And he said it's like a saucer would if you skipped it across the water.
Boom. That's it, right?
That's it.
That's flying saucer comes from that.
Comes from that. Now, as it happened, the moment his report made mainstream media news, that all hell broke loose, and reports came in from all around the US, indeed all around the world.
The flying saucer, a 20th century mystery, cannot be ignored. Reliable witnesses have sighted them over nearly every major city, along our air lanes, over secret research areas.
So there was a sort of sense almost of collective relief that it was okay to talk about this now. People were saying, oh, thank goodness someone else has gone public with this. Yes, I've seen something. And it really snowballed. And over the years, we have had, my goodness, I would hesitate to put a figure on it, but hundreds of thousands of sightings all around the world.
Arnold breaks the dam on the conversation. And then July 8th, 1947. What happens, Nick?
Well, this is, I guess, the big one. This is Roswell. We know for a fact that something crashed. And we know this because despite all the allegations of cover-ups and conspiracies, the first people to put out the story were the US military themselves. They said, we have recovered one of these flying discs. They actually caused a press release to be put out where they said the many rumors surrounding the flying disc, we are getting closer to solving this because now we've got one. Right. And they told this story of how a rancher had recovered debris from his property and had assumed that maybe the military had been operating something and it's crashed. He got in touch, and the military went, checked this thing out, and wow. And then, as I say, they put out this release and they say, we have recovered a flying disc. Within 24 hours, they changed the story. They said, we've made a terrible mistake. It was just a weather balloon. Wow.
Right.
These theories were checked when the armed forces investigated the flying saucers. Admiral Calvin Bolster of the Navy's Bureau of Aeronautics gives his conclusion.
I do not feel that these balloons explain the majority of the so-called flying saucer sightings that have appeared in the press.
Roswell was home to the 509th Bomb Group. At the time, they were the only atomic bomb-capable squadron anywhere in the world. These people were the best of the best, the elite of the elite. If ever there was a unit less likely to misidentify a weather balloon, it was these people. These things, it's something else, particularly when they're disc-shaped. It's one of those ironies of aviation. Disc-shaped objects generally don't make very good aircraft.
One of the most famous saucer sightings post-Roswell, post-1947, is 1950 in Oregon. You've got this craft that was photographed by a farmer, I believe it was Trent. And what makes this sighting so special?
Well, seeing is believing. And I think the whole flying saucer mystery had been talked about at national level for a while, but we really hadn't got many images of these things. And then along comes this.
And these photographs have been analyzed by professionals looking for a hoax. And from what I understand, this is one of the photos that could not be proven as such.
The fact of the matter is, as you say, this has been looked at by a number of photographic experts who didn't find any aspects that were suspicious to them. I've done this in government. We have all sorts of imagery analysis resources and capabilities that can be brought to bear on photos and videos, and we can tell if things are a hoax.
Okay, so now we're moving on to a saucer sighting in Jersey, New Jersey. It's gone all the way to the East Coast. In Jersey in 1951, pilots and police officers see a saucer.
This is important for a number of reasons. Firstly, I think it shows that this is something that's not isolated in any one particular area. It is all around the United States. But really what makes this stand out to me is the caliber of the witnesses. I mean, I don't want to disparage other witnesses, but there's no getting away from the fact that when you investigate a case where the witnesses are pilots and police officers, it gives it a level of credibility that perhaps some other cases don't have. But if you're a military officer or a pilot and you are caught making up a story and then maybe it gets into the papers, you'll be in front of your employer, your commanding officer, whoever it is. These can be career-ending situations. Yeah. So, look, nobody is going to want to come and make a report like this unless they are absolutely certain about it.
And when all of those witnesses, independent of each other, describe a disc or saucer in the sky, that's creepy, man.
It is, and that's actually another very important aspect of all this. You know in these situations that you're not dealing with a hoax because people independently, quite unconnected with each other, in most cases with no knowledge of each other's reports, come forward separately. And it's only when you're running, say, a government UFO program that you begin to see, wait a minute, we've got a witness over here, and that corroborates the witness over there. And these people don't know each other. For all they know, they're alone, but they're not.
So now we're moving to 1958. The military of Brazil takes these photos of a saucer in the sky.
Yes, this is a Navy training ship and multiple witnesses and these extraordinary photos. And not just the photos, of course, the eyewitness testimony. One of the reasons why governments study these photos and videos so closely is that if you are to understand things like the energy source, the propulsion system, the aerodynamics, you need to kind of get a handle on the shape, the size, the speed, and that can tell you things.
You're right, you don't see wings, you don't see engines, you don't see propulsion systems of any kind in any of these photos. So when the military, again, themselves are seeing these things, taking pictures of these things, and can't explain these things, when the experts can't explain these things, then it's something creepy. What makes these more significant than, for example, the Trent photo from Oregon?
Well, I think it's the Navy aspect. It's kind of one of those interesting things. You would think that UFOs are an Air Force issue, and often they are, but the Navy seems never to be far away with this. And it's also interesting that over the years there have been a number of reports of UFOs emerging from and flying back into the ocean. Some of these things, I've heard them called USOs, unidentified submerged objects.
Nick, I was just about to get to maybe believe they were aliens, and now you're throwing me a curveball.
Well, why not? That's, I guess, what this phenomenon does to you.
USOs?
Yes, USOs.
Oh my God.
But you're right. Just as you think you're beginning to get a handle on this phenomenon, there's a new aspect to it.
They could be coming from the ocean?
Well, that's one of a number of theories about this. Look, put it this way. If UFOs are extraterrestrial visitors, any civilization that has mastered the secrets of interstellar travel probably isn't going to be worried by flying into and out of the water.
Okay, fair point. Let's move forward to the Heflin photos from 1965. So here's Rex Heflin. He's out on the road in 1965, and this thing flies over. What can you tell us about the Heflin photos, which blow my mind?
Yeah, again, it's probably one of the clearest, sharpest images that we have of a UFO.
So the thing that blew my mind is that I originally thought the Heflin photo was only this first photo, which is the most famous photo. It turns out there are four, at least four, because he follows it flying over the street. So if the first one was a hoax, he threw something or he hung something, but there are more. He would have had to do that multiple times, and it definitely looks like he's following something moving in the line.
And that's human nature. If you saw a UFO and you had a camera, you would probably be doing exactly the same thing. Wow, click, 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 click. And you follow it, you track it. That's what he's doing. He's tracking this.
There is a photo of a round circle of smoke where he claims this disappeared.
Yes, now there is a meteorological phenomenon called a hole punch cloud, but when you have an object seen that is itself the thing that causes the hole in the cloud, that makes you think, wow, the speed and acceleration of that is extraordinary because aircraft don't do that.
This one also blows my mind. This next photo from 1971, released by the Costa Rican government. The government. Also, crystal clear. My opinion, such a great photo. I have a difficult time, Nick. I have a difficult time with photos like this because half of my brain wants to say, this is someone messing around and, you know, pulling people's chain. And the other half of my brain says, well, wait a minute. Let me try to get to the bottom of what the hell this thing is. Give me some context on this photo.
Sure, well, as you said, this is an official photo. This was part of the Costa Rican government, and what they were doing was a survey of the lake there for purposes of hydroelectric power stations and such like. And so this was a survey picture. The government is not in the business of hoaxing people. And so when something comes out like this, I mean, you can take this to the bank. Of course we know there are hoaxes. Of course we know there are fakes. But what we're doing really is trying to build up a bigger picture. And just because we have some fakes, you know, stories and photos and things, doesn't mean the phenomenon itself isn't absolutely real. It is.
There is a famous case where I'm convinced it is a hoax, and that is the Gulf Breeze photos. The one thing about this Gulf Breeze thing that really I have a problem with is that the bottom of the craft itself does have this kind of like paper plate texture to it. But on the flip, the part of me that thinks this could be real is actually this photo where the light of this thing is covering a road. The road is what, 14, 16 feet wide, 20 feet wide? Obviously it couldn't be a handheld model if it's covering a road. What are your opinions on this?
Yes,
It looks awesome.
It's a little bit, yeah, a little bit too good to be true. It does look to me suspiciously like some sort of model, maybe built around a light fixture of some sort. To me, it doesn't quite add up. If this UFO really was as close to the road as the guy said he saw it, then particularly if there's some exotic energy source there,
It would leave something.
there would be some sort of, yeah, exactly, physical trace evidence, whether it was simply heat or whether it was radioactivity. So when you investigate UFOs for the government, you don't do anything in isolation. You investigate the sighting, but you also investigate any photo or video you have. And this is the sneaky bit, you also investigate the witness. And it's only when you put everything together that you come to a final judgment.
When it comes to big, famous sightings, flying saucer sightings, it kind of drifts off. The saucer had its day, it seems. The 40s, 50s, 60s, saucers, and then it's kind of taken over by a triangle. Really, the next big publicized saucer sighting isn't really until, in my opinion, 2006 at Chicago O'Hare.
And then there's this story you may have already heard about. United Airlines employees who swear it was something otherworldly in the skies above Chicago's O'Hare Airport on November 7th.
The pilot of the plane waiting to depart to Charlotte looks up and there is a saucer hovering not that far over the plane.
Several airport workers said they saw a saucer-shaped UFO hovering just beneath the clouds at the airport.
What do you know about this? Is this a credible case?
Absolutely. Firstly, the number of witnesses. Secondly, the caliber of the witnesses. What is really important here is that you have a UFO, whatever that object was, in the strictly controlled and regulated airspace, some of the most crowded skies in the world. I mean, my goodness, if that isn't an air safety issue, I don't know what is. But one reporter basically put in some Freedom of Information Act requests and then targeted the FAA about it, and reluctantly the story emerged, oh yeah, we had this incident. But they then tried to write it off and they said, oh, it was just weather. Well,
Right.
It wasn't weather. There is this meteorological
The hole in the cloud.
thing, yeah, the whole
But it
punch
only
cloud.
happens during certain temperatures, right?
Exactly, and you can always check the meteorological data.
Of that time of day.
Mm-hmm.
And they did. And it contradicted that possibility, essentially, right?
Yeah, and the other thing is, I hear rumors about this case. I hear rumors that there are photos and videos still to emerge, but maybe some of the witnesses are still a little reluctant.
You don't believe this was possibly your imagination?
It was definitely not my imagination.
CNN interviewed one of the supposed witnesses to the 2006 Chicago O'Hare saucer. He refused to have his face shown, his silhouette, voice change. You could see that there was a fear about being identified as in person or a name.
That would make sense, for example, if they are still employed by some of the major airlines, but maybe, as people move on and retire or change jobs, maybe those kind of inhibitors will fall by the wayside, and this story may not yet be told in entirety.
Like you said, I hope one day we find out what the heck this was above the airport hangar. But other than that, where did it go? What happened to the saucer?
I'm not sure it's ever really gone away, and I wouldn't be surprised if there were and still are saucer-shaped sightings. But what I think has happened is that, as you said, the saucer kind of had its day. A new shape has come to the fore and thrust its way into public awareness. And nowadays, when people talk about UFOs, increasingly the best reports are triangular-shaped craft.
Next episode, we'll dive deep into the world of the Black Triangle, from mass sightings
I saw this up close and personal.
to incredible firsthand